So I didn't get a chance to go to Harvard yesterday. This is actually our 5th day here on this college tour on the East Coast, and I got sick. I got a fever.
I got a fever!
So I had to stay in bed all day yesterday while my daughter and wife went to Harvard and did the Harvard tour. My daughter liked the college. The buildings to them looked very similar, all the same, in a sense that they were all very American Revolution style. But the cool thing is we're staying here at the Liberty Hotel, which used to be a jail. And this hotel was built in 1851 by architect Gridley Bryant, and it's right across the street from Charles River. The Charles River in the Beacon Hill neighborhood in Boston was known as the Charles Street Jail, but it was also known as the Suffolk County Jail. So it was actually designed like to be in a cross, and then each wing, depending on how severe the crime was, that's where you would be held prison for. As you can see, this is probably like the courtyard where they brought the prisoners out. Believe it or not, it was one of the first jails that was designed to try to be more of a rehabilitation center than a depressing place to go. That's why they built these big windows up there to allow natural sunlight to come into the prison cells. So what you're seeing here is the original guardrails that were installed in the prison in 1851, and they just built around it for the hotel. So there was one successful prison break during the tenure of this prison. It was done by a mob hitman, and to commemorate the event in front of the hotel where the original barrier was, they kept the doorway where this particular hitman was able to break out. Now what's kind of fun about this hotel is they have the restaurant called The Clink, a lounge bar called The Alibi. Everything's revolved around the prison system, the justice system, and it's kind of cool checking out what would have been, you know, you're standing guard in maybe like the 5th level here, where the cells would have been located. Central area of the prison was probably located right here. It's considered sort of a posh hotel in sort of a hip neighborhood of Beacon Hill. And like I said, the Charles River is right across the way here, across the street from the hotel. And across the river over on that side is Harvard, which my daughter and wife went to yesterday. And then not too far from here too, just across the other way, is MIT. A lot of prestigious colleges here, as well as a lot of American history. And today, we're gonna, I think, check out Paul Revere's house and some of the historical American history landmarks. So we're here at Paul Revere's house. I'm not allowed to go inside with the camera, so they had rules against that, so we're out here in the courtyard. And the way it works out is this little small home is Paul Revere's home. It's one of the only original 17th century homes that are still intact. And then it's attached to this other building, which is like the gift shop, another extension of the Paul Revere Museum. But it's really kind of cool. You can imagine what the courtyard must look like. Interesting thing about Paul Revere, due to the poem by Longfellow that added to the lore of Paul Revere's legend, which is like happened like 100 years after the famous ride from Paul Revere. It was actually two guys that left Boston to warn, it was essentially to warn John Hancock and Sam Adams that they were going to be arrested by the British government, and they were going to disband the militia that they were forming over in Lexington and Concord. Somebody informed both Revere and Dawes, William Dawes was the other writer, that the British were coming. They set out on two different routes to warn the countryside as well as get the news to Hancock and Adams. And Revere actually had to cross the river first before he actually made his ride, where Dawes was able to make a southern route on his horseback over to Lexington and Concord. So even though Revere was trained as a silversmith, and that's how he made his living and his trade, he was a middle-class citizen. His business wasn't doing so well when the Stamp Act was in place, when the more pressures were putting on by the British government. Naturally, he was one of the first members of the Sons of Liberty. He was part of the Revolution. As business was dwindling for him, he got into the business of dentistry and actually made dental tools. I think a self-taught dentist. He was part of the Revolution, became as high up as a lieutenant colonel in the military, won some battles and also lost some battles, but post-Revolutionary War is when he really made all his money. Basically, became a better entrepreneur, and he was able to move out of this small house. And he eventually was able to find a much bigger mansion. So it's very cool to see this history here before we leave town tonight. So it's been an amazing week here, just doing like college campus tours on the East Coast. Really eye-opening. It's really neat to see my daughter, get that glimmer in her eye, the hint of excitement about the possibilities of going to all these different schools. It's been a beautiful trip. I hope to get back out to Boston again. There's so much to see, especially the historical context of the American Revolution and so on. So many things. But I'll catch you next time.